It's possible. I mean, it's totally possible.
Yeah.
But the long and the short for Blair in his situation is because the rental place is closed, it's now past 5:30, and he can't get into his car, they call a tow truck, and they tow the car to a garage and say, call them in the morning. Figure out how to get your key in the morning when they're open, man.
So this is now. I heard in one place that the tow truck towed him to a hotel.
So you will see, I have seen this as well, and it's not that they took the car to the hotel, it's that they took Blair to the hotel, and then took the car to the shop, or they took the car to the shop and Blair walked or hitchhiked to his hotel.
Yeah, according to
I've seen both directions.
Yeah, according to the Knox County Sheriff's Department, they had a thing on the they said that he was given a ride by the tow truck driver to
and
the
I'm
hotel.
inclined to believe that he got a ride, but you do see some places where people will say, and then he walked, or they will say he hitchhiked. I'm not inclined to buy that. I mean, if you've got a tow truck driver, then you get a ride from the tow truck driver because you don't know where you are.
Yeah, usually.
But you'll see it both ways. He's now at a hotel, because we've just talked about that. He gets to this hotel somehow, and he walks into the hotel, and and I'm almost certain that he, by the way, was at the Fairfield Inn and Suites.
Yeah, that is the hotel.
Yeah. And he goes ahead, and he walks into the lobby, and he hangs out, and then he exhibits some very odd behavior. He's there for an hour, in and out of the lobby a total of 5 times, before he finally gets a room. People have watched the surveillance tape and they say...
Gets a room or asks for a room?
He pays for a room.
Okay, so, no, I mean, that's a big difference, right? It's one thing to just be this random person who's walking in back and forth. It's another to, like, walk up to the counter and say, I need a room, and then kind of hang out for a little while.
No, let me clarify. He walked in and out, hung out that entire hour before requesting a room.
That's the clarification I was looking for,
so he hung out in the lobby, wandered around like he was waiting for somebody, is what the tape looks like, and then finally goes up to the counter, pays for a room, which, by the way, again, this is another point where he doesn't seem to care about money. He pays for a $50 room with a $100 bill and doesn't stick around for his change.
Did he have a cell phone?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
I've never seen mention of a cell phone.
Pager?
Never seen mention of anything like that.
Okay.
At all.
And this was between about 6 and 7 p.m., right, on the night of the 10th?
So he left the hotel, from the footage, he walked out of the hotel at 7:37 p.m.
Okay, so 6:30
So
to
he got there
7:30.
somewhere around 6:30ish.
Okay.
Somewhere like that.
All right.
And then did his milling about before leaving. At which point he leaves the hotel, and we have no idea what he does at all for the rest of that evening and over the course of that following night.
Actually, I have an idea what he did. He got killed.
He died sometime in between the...
Wow, Joe.
So I know that. Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's accurate.
Yeah,
we did solve this mystery.
Yeah.
Did kind of do that. Okay, so the next day, which...
Shouldn't be laughing.
Yeah,
no,
really,
I'm laughing at Joe.
Yeah.
No, I'm not laughing at the case.
Yeah.
At 7:30 in the morning, a construction crew shows up at their work site, which is another hotel. Again, there's hotels. This place is just lousy with hotels.
It's just that strip. I mean, every place has that strip right outside of town.
I personally think this particular spot has an excessive number of hotels. I counted. There's 13 hotels there.
That doesn't surprise me that much.
And it's like a mile and a half by a mile and a half. It's crazy.
There's a stretch of road right outside of DIA that has like 14 or 15 hotels.
Yeah, but that's by an airport.
Yeah, well, this is outside of a major city.
True.
Yeah.
True. Fair. Okay.
Thanks, Steve.
Okay, so he is found. This construction crew finds Blair's body. He is in the parking lot of the. It's probably the Red Roof Inn. It's possible that it could have been the Super 8 as well, because they're right by each other.
Yeah, it's on Crestwood Road or Crestwood Drive.
But it's on the opposite side of Interstate 40, because Interstate 40 cuts through this whole little pocket of gas stations and restaurants and hotels of where he was at. And his hotel was on one side of the freeway, and he was found dead in the parking lot of another hotel on the opposite side of the freeway.
Yeah, it actually was like a parking area. I don't know if it had been paved yet or not. The hotel was under construction at the time.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it was paved, and so there's going to be a bunch of people who are going to remember this case because they saw it on Unsolved Mysteries, which, by the way, I managed to track it down, but we need to remember that Unsolved Mysteries is doing reenactments.
Yeah.
So what I saw immediately, I was like, oh, look at that. The parking lot was paved, and it was this colored building, and and I was
But you
like,
have to remember,
I can't use those details
Yeah.
because they're reenactment details.
Yeah, and I saw a screen cap from that, and it was obviously not the same hotel because it was the red
Red Roof.
It was the Red Roof
Roof.
where his body was
Red Roof.
found. Yeah, Red Roof. Red
Red Roof.
It was the Red
Rum.
it was a Red Roof, and the Red Roof
Red
does not look
Rum.
anything like the hotel in the picture. And so, yeah, they obviously just went out and found the nearest motel or hotel or something like that. Which makes sense. It saves you a lot of money.
Okay, so I can point out something. I watched that segment. There's a building number on the hotel that they take him to stay at. The building number doesn't match anything in the area. So, so this is just kind of a clue that you can't rely on that.
Yeah.
But the police obviously are called because there's a body.
Like
We've
you
got
do.
Blair dead on the ground with blood around him.
And money.
And money. And so the cops investigate, and they ruled it a homicide. Blair had... So I couldn't get his actual autopsy or any of the records like that. I can't find him on the net. And I think part of that is because this case is technically still open.
It is.
A cold case unit started looking into it again, I think 4 or 5 years ago.
I think in 2010 is what I read.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
6.
But there are some things that indicate that he had defensive wounds on his hands and some smaller wounds on his body. And like we said, of course, there's all that cash strewn about him.
And about one thing about the defensive wounds, in one of the newspaper articles that I read about this that was written at the time, shortly thereafter, it said that he had one wound on one hand that could have been a defensive wound, and that was it.
And I was, when I haven't seen a whole lot to describe what the wounds are, so I kind of have to take it at face value that they were defensive. But you have a great point that it could have been that his hands were just banged up from something.
Yeah, it's
and
that's something totally unrelated
to be that way.
You know, actually, I called the reporter that wrote that article. She works for the Knoxville News Sentinel.
Mm-hmm.
And
the Sentinel, yeah, because I pulled a couple of their articles.
Yeah, I called her. Surprisingly, she answered her phone. She was very friendly and chatty.
Yeah.
And so I asked her about this, and she didn't remember it. And it was like 20 years ago. I understand it. And she covers like crime and murder. And she said, she was like, and I described it to her. She said, oh yeah, that kind of rings a bell. But understand, she was like, but I cover this murder stuff all the time.
And you were like, I know that feeling.
I do a podcast.
Exactly.
We do a different story every week.
Yeah. So she gave me a phone number to call the Knoxville PD, and I called them and left a message.
And they haven't called you back yet.
No, actually, they called me back too, and it was just, and he told me that actually it's not their case; it's the Knoxville County Sheriff's case.
Oh, okay.
And so he gave me a name and a number to call, and so I called and left a message, and I haven't heard back.
Okay. I was like, this has to end, and then I haven't heard back.
Yeah, and now I'll if I do hear back, we'll do an update or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll post something out there.
Something that could be construed as a defensive wound, right, is like scrapes on the palms of your hands.
Which you can get from falling.
To the outside of your hands,
or like when you fall on gravel and like skid or catch yourself or
to
get angry and punch a wall.
That can be punching a wall could be misconstrued. Yes, I will agree. Scraping your hands on the ground, not so much.
Not as much, but a little. I mean, it depends on how you fall.
It's very true. So Blair has he's got his fanny pack near him, and it's got all his money. His duffel bag is around the corner, by the way. It's not right with his body. It's kind of around the side of the building.
And did we see his duffel bag in the footage?
Yes, he had that duffel bag with him the whole time.
Okay.
And he kept it close.
Like you would.
He's laying on the ground. Like I said, there was blood around the body.
Was he face down or face up?
I've never seen it described which
Again,
way
yeah,
he was.
Autopsies, if they haven't been released, it's hard to tell.
Yeah. But okay, so let's describe what we do know. We do know that his shoes were off.
Okay.
We know that his socks were off and they were inside out, and we know his pants were pulled off and they were inside out.
His socks were pulled off inside out.
His socks were not on him and they were inside out.
Okay.
And the same goes for his pants.
Okay.
There's no mention of underwear, so I'm going to presume he was going commando.
Okay.
I'm just going to make that presumption.
Or it could be that the murderer, pantsed him, took the underwear, and that's really, he's just like some sort of a psycho that's really into underwear, and he didn't care about the money. He just wanted those shorts.
Just wanted the
You're
underwear.
the worst.
This is the sort of thing. This is why we have to keep an eye on Joe.
I know. And then Blair's shirt was torn open. Like we said in the beginning, it may have just been popped open if it was a button-up shirt and not actually tear open.
Yeah, this is it'd really be helpful. And I guess the police are probably withholding these details, but there was blood because there was violence and there was blood. It'd be helpful to know if the blood was on the inside or the outside of his pants, because that would tell us if the pants were pulled off after he was killed or before he was killed.
I haven't heard anything that ever said that there was blood on his pants.
Inside or outside.
No.
But yeah.
I've never seen anything that said that mentions the blood on his clothes. I'm sure there was blood on his shirt because he was laying, but I don't know of anything ever talking about it on his pants.
Yeah.
Same thing with his socks and shoes.
Yeah, it kind of seems to me that if the killer, if he was actually killed by somebody, that they were looking for something. And they didn't care about the money.
That fuels at least one, if not two theories. That absolutely does.
Yeah.
I don't know. You know what they weren't looking for?
Yeah.
His car key.
Yeah,
to his
didn't
white
have it.
No, to his white rental, his white
he didn't
Toyota
have
Camry. It was 10 feet away from his body.
What?
So he had the key the whole time.
Or whoever killed him was the key.
Or we can go down that rabbit hole.
Sorry.
It's
But
potential. I know it totally. The theory section in this, by the way, is going to feel like a mess. I've tried to organize it as much as possible.
No way. Yeah.
But but the key is there. And by the way, we haven't said this, but what he died of.
Yeah, because there was blood around his body, and I don't know why there was blood around his body yet.
Good point.
I don't know. I don't know why there was blood around the body, because the cause of death was blunt force trauma, which ruptured his stomach.
That's gotta hurt.
It has to hurt. Also, my grasp of anatomy is not the best, but I don't understand how that happens, but okay.
So Joe had a good move of contacting an expert for us.
Yeah, I talked to I didn't talk to her. I sent an email to one of our listeners, Jeff. Hi, Jeff. And he wrote me back. I just said, what I was asking him was if you get hit hard enough in the abdomen to rupture your stomach, how long would it take you to die?
Yeah.
And his answer, like, does your heart stop because all the gross stuff in your stomach spills out and stops your heart? And he wrote back and said, well, it all just depends. It could be an hour, several hours, both bleeding out. It just all depends.
But the other thing is that it's super hard to rupture the stomach.
Right.
Well, it's really hard to unless the stomach is full.
Really full. Though.
Yeah, you have to be stuffed.
Like Thanksgiving dinner. Full.
And this is one of the things that mystifies me. And of course, again, security cameras were probably not as ubiquitous back in 1996, but still. That one hotel he went to had security cameras. I wouldn't be surprised if the nearby McDonald's and other places had them.
Usually, yeah.
So I would say that, according to what Jeff said, if his stomach ruptured, it must have been full. And which means he must have had a nice big meal. So why didn't, they canvassed the area. Nobody saw him.
Well, more than that, it seems like they should have been able to, it's not as though his food would have been, fully digested, really.
If his stomach was full enough that a blow would rupture his stomach,
it shouldn't have been digested.
It couldn't have been digested.
So then they should have been able to test the contents of that and say, oh, it was a meal that was kind of like this, and these are the
He had a Big
places.
Mac.
Yeah, it's McDonald's.
It's McDonald's, or it's the Red Robin around the corner, or he had a steak, and these 4 places do steak within a reasonable.
Yeah.
So
that's interesting.
This is a bit of a puzzler for me. Yeah, how did he get his stomach full without?
And then
anybody
also,
seeing it?
how did he just die there? Because it seems like it seems reasonable to assume that this is the scene of the crime, right? His body wasn't relocated.
Not necessarily.
I think actually...
I don't think so.
Yeah, if he was alive for several hours or even an hour, he could have come from a long distance away. I mean, not a long distance, but he could have actually
He
could have
traveled some distance.
Okay.
So it's very possible that where he died is not where he sustained his injury.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah.
Oh, and so we do have possibly one time frame indicator for the whole thing with Blair at the parking lot at the construction site. The security guard at the area, for the construction area, said that he heard at 3:30 a.m. a loud, short scream.
Yeah.
Which people say means it must have been Blair, but there's no way to know because that area has got people pouring in and out of it.
Yeah.
Could have been anybody.
It also seems, again, it's one of those things where it's like a trauma that's ongoing. Probably if he's bleeding out over the course of an hour or more,
he's bleeding out internally.
He's not going to just scream and then fall over. Like, that's not going to happen, probably.
No, that's only the movie.
Oh, and the security guard also, I thought he said it sounded like a woman to him.
He did.
Yeah. And also, by the way, what kind of a security guard was he? I mean, he heard a scream
and was like, nah.
Shaggy.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to stay in here with my cookies.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cookies.
Yeah, you got that. Mm-hmm. So we move on to theories?
Yeah.
Because we have a boatload of theories on this one.
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
And again, just to reiterate, the only people who testified to having contact with him were the gas station attendant, the hotel receptionist,
and that's it.
And the tow truck driver.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Those are the three people that we know for sure that came forward.
Okay.
And had interactions with him. Anybody else who met him never said a word.
Okay.
So. Yeah, but again, he must have in those hours. He must have gone to a McDonald's or somewhere.
Talk to somebody.
You have to stop saying that because people are going to think you're sponsoring us.
Oh yeah, good point. Okay. Not McDonald's. I take that back. Forget it. Wipe your brains. Yeah, let's just say Jack in the Box.
Yeah.
White Castle.
Whatever, you know. Yeah.
Somewhere.
This is a Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, so now that we've got that out, let's go into theories.
Okay.
Sure.
Theory number 1. The unnamed assassin.
Bunk.
Yeah.
Okay.
Next.
Yeah.
Wait, no.
This is a popular one out
It
there,
is very
actually.
popular, so we've got to at least talk about it a little bit, is that people say that because Blair said that somebody was trying to kill him, that some unknown organization was after him. Okay, he worked for a construction company, so let's pretend that he figured out that his company was doing something on the sly, whether they're getting contracts
burying bodies
incorrectly
in concrete
or doing shoddy work. Okay, we're just going to say that's it.
Okay.
We have no way of saying that's it, but we're just going to run with that.
Yeah.
So then his boss figures it out, or he thinks his boss figures it out, at which point he freaks out and decides to get out of town. The problem with this whole thing is that the assassin would have squandered the chance over the course of the weekend to knock him off when he was still in town at home.
That would have been a lot easier, huh?
And then chase him all over North America.
Also, it's a pretty ineffective way to kill somebody.
Well, that's it.
Well, it's inexact.
It's
Well,
not.
You
you're
don't
not-
know that you're
way.
actually going to kill him by
Exactly.
punching him in the gut like that. If
Well-
that's what caused his stomach to be ruptured.
Unless you're a ninja assassin, and you know the killer's death flow.
Right.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
could be.
Yeah.
Cobra Strike?
Exactly.
Okay.
No, I mean, I think it seems like he had been feeling like something was wrong for some time, right?
Yeah.
So had he actually found out about something, he would have been murdered, assassinated way earlier than that. It's really easy to make a construction thing look like an accident, right? Like, why wouldn't they just have that happen? They would have done that.
Yeah, a load
You
of
don't
lumber
chase him all the way
accidentally
to
fell on him.
Knoxville.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no. Now, I do want to bring up, so you will see this bandied about, that the assassin was following him, and when he got to the gas station in Knoxville, swapped out his key
Oh, yeah.
so that he couldn't leave Nashville, which is...
Or Knoxville, you mean?
Or Knoxville, thank
Yeah.
you. Which is so far flung
How
from
exactly?
reality.
So the assassin. Here's what I think. I think the assassin strangled the gas station attendant. The gas station attendant picked his pocket and swapped out the key. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
How you liking that one?
No.
Yeah, and I think I've seen that one too, and that's the most absurd thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
again-
if it's an assassin, the assassin would have stayed with him until he was dead. If it's an assassin worth their salt.
Yeah.
And why then it makes me wonder, okay, so what kind of weirdo is the assassin that they strip him? Oh, well, I was bored. Just want to see if he'd move. I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
No, it's
Yeah.
not good.
The assassin one, I really, it's weak sauce.
Well, the only thing I could say for the assassin thing is if the assassin was looking for something, again, that would be a good reason to pull his clothes off. Now they've made note of the money from the fanny pack scattered around the body.
Right.
He's searching for something. Tears up his shirt, pulls off the pants, shoes, everything, turns all that stuff inside out. Looking for something. Could just be a piece of paper. Might be a piece of jewelry even. Gets into the fanny pack, pulls out bundles of money, and just throws it because he doesn't care about that. He's looking for something.
Yeah, that's not their target.
And so he might have not. He may have meant only have to temporarily disable this guy. He may have not actually intended to kill Blair.
Yeah.
Maybe he just accidentally did so, but he was after whatever he was after. And again, it could have been something in that jewelry.
Job was to retrieve something.
It could have been a sticky note with a password on it. I mean, it could have been something.
It could have been a bajillion things.
Yeah, and so maybe that would explain the money being scattered around.
It would.
And so of course it's just a theory.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And well, it's also.
And again, this is all to follow him all the way to Knoxville and not lose him.
Yeah.
And also not be seen by
That's
him.
really good.
Yeah.
Really good.
I
Which
do
is
wanna
why we're
say-
going to move on to the next theory.
I do want to say one thing about the
Which is
lost
why
key.
we're going to move on to the next theory.
No, the lost key.
Okay, let's have it.
If he really truly was being pursued, or at least believed he was being pursued by an assassin, it might be that he only pretended to lose his keys so he'd have an excuse to call a guy, to tow it away, to lock it up in a shop overnight so it couldn't be spotted.
The car?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess.
Yeah. In other words, yeah, he wants to spend the night.
Except
He's
for that
tired. He was up the whole previous night on an airplane.
But the problem with that one is that presumably that person is following them. They're watching the whole thing. They're going to watch where that car's towed
They're
to.
going to be close to him.
They're going to see where he checks in. I mean, it would explain why he checked into a hotel, paid for a hotel, and then left, right? But then they'll see him leave probably, too. I mean, it's...
Well, that's the thing. Is like, maybe he felt like he had shaken them off, but that they were going to be looking for his car.
It would explain why he was going in and out, like trying to make sure that he wasn't seeing the person he was following.
We have fully wandered into, but maybe what if territory.
You're right. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
We're rabbit holing.
the assassin one, I don't think it works, and it's a total, well, what if, but you can so lose yourself in there, and then reality just goes out the window.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, but that's just a theory as to the lost key.
Yeah.
Because
No,
he
that's-
obviously had it on him the whole time. I mean, and
That or his killer did.
Or
Which?
there's something else that could be, and that's our next theory, which is the next theory is that he had an unknown traveling companion. Here's where you brought this up earlier, Devin.
Yeah.
Okay. If you go through some of the early articles about Blair and the whole situation, one of them talks about the fact that in his duffel bag he had receipts for most of the things from his trip. And one of the things that was in his bag was a receipt for the rental car, which was signed for by somebody else.
yeah, his Canadian pal.
A fellow Canadian who is never named, by the way. So I can't say, oh, it was this person. But it's completely possible that Blair and this other person drove across the border. Blair and this other person got on a plane together, landed in D.C., and Blair rented the car, and the other person got in the car, and they drove that whole distance. At which point, as we talked about a little bit earlier, unknown person gets out of the car to go use the bathroom, has the car key with him. Blair has, let's say it's his own key he's trying to use, and then completely flips out, and this whole thing goes sideways.
Yeah.
Now, what happens between Blair and his now stranded traveling companion? I can't even fathom a guess.
Well, he must have been this is the thing, though. He must have been in the bathroom a hell of a long time.
Well, it was an 8-hour drive.
I mean, not only would he have had to have been, he or she would have had to be in the bathroom for a long time. I also just have a hard time with it because, barring any kind of like psychotic break or something else going on with Blair at the exact same time, he would have said, "Oh, maybe my friend has it." Right? Like, there's no reason for him to have just ignored the fact that his totally amicable traveling partner had the key.
Well, and
or even if they were like, even if they had this huge fight and the other person wandered off, he still probably would have said, "Oh crap, I think the other person has the key." He wouldn't have been like, "No, I don't know, I must have lost it."
Or it's possible that the signer was Blair, who just signed a different name.
That's always possible. The thing about it is if the friend was in the bathroom, and
I made the bathroom part up completely.
Oh, did you really? Oh,
yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm totally. I grabbed the bathroom out of thin air so that the attendant didn't see this person.
Okay, I see.
That's I mean, the friend could have been in the chip aisle or gone across the street to the Taco Bell.
But the friend would have come to Blair and the car gone. He would have asked the guy, "What happened to my friend in our car?" And that guy would have told the police about it. He didn't do that.
No.
So unless they had agreed to part ways at this place, maybe the friend was going to meet somebody there and then go off on his own. I mean, possible, but
maybe.
I kind of doubt it.
No, I don't think that's it.
Yeah.
Let's move to theory number 3. You ready?
Oh, yeah.
Canadian drug dealers. They're the scariest, by the way.
Oh yeah.
In articles, again, this is early reporting. You will see this line repeated over and over, which is, and I quote, "There was a history of mental illness in his family, and Adams had spent years battling alcohol and drug addictions." I can't find the foundation of this statement. I just see it stated over and over, so it may just be a copy-paste scenario that somebody tacked on by inferring something that somebody else said. I don't know where it came from.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I also want to make the point that there was no drug or alcohol found in his system when his autopsy was done.
Mm-hmm.
He was clean as a whistle.
Yeah, well, it doesn't mean he didn't used to have a problem. He could have just cleaned up his act.
That's absolutely right.
Obviously, actually, and this is the perfect guy for a drug courier. You don't want a junkie.
No, you want a guy who's clean as can be.
Yeah.
And it's entirely possible that Blair may have fallen in with the wrong people, and let's just presume that he was doing something. Let's presume that he was a courier. I think we talked about that earlier when he was trying to cross the border. He's a courier, and he's working for some bad people, and then he does something that makes them mad, or thinks that they're mad at him and that they're gonna get him and has to get out of town because everybody knows that snitches get stitches. So he may have I gotta go. I gotta get out of here. Yeah. They are so gonna kill me.
Yeah. I don't know. I agree that a clean person is usually the ideal candidate for drug / money currying of any kind, but typically not somebody who's recovering. So if there was actually a history, if he was an ex-drug abuser, usually you aren't like, "Hey, I know you used to have this thing with drugs, but you're totally clean now, but we're going to give you a bunch of drugs and just set you loose on the world."
Yeah,
usually that's not the plan.
Not according to Hollywood.
Well, okay, Hollywood can...
We're better than Hollywood.
Where you can, you're pointing where Hollywood can stick.
Yeah.
That. Okay.
Yeah, but here is the deal about the snitching, too.
There's lots of deals tonight.
So he's in Surrey, right?
Yep.
So he's snitching to the Surrey PD, the Vancouver.
Yeah, let's say
PD.
he gets busted. Yeah. So he's turned state's evidence.
That's right. So he's ratting out his friends to these guys. He's agreed to become an informant for them. And so if that's the case, and if you have Knoxville or PD and or the Knox County Sheriff's calling you up inquiring about this guy, isn't somebody going to make note of the fact that he was an informant?
Okay, flip side on this, right? If he was an informant, if they still have an active sting going on, right? If it was a couple people, and you don't want to freak them out by saying, yeah, there was a CI in there, but he got killed.
True.
Because then they'll think, oh, there might be more. They'll clean house.
But here's the deal: it's been 20 years.
I agree.
They had plenty of time to wrap up that investigation,
you are right.
and then
absolutely
find his murderers.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, okay, fine.
So therefore, he couldn't have been a rat.
But like you were saying, you called this reporter who reported on it, and she was like, I don't remember that case.
Yeah.
It's possible it just fell through the cracks. At the time they said, listen, we can't divulge any information about this person.
That's true.
They said, okay, great.
Yeah.
And then, that was that. And then
that's a possibility too.
it's just, somebody in the drug department, the narco department in Surrey that wasn't their top priority of following up with the Knoxville Sheriff's Department.
But here's the deal why I think it didn't fall through the cracks. So our drug kingpin here, Canadian drug kingpin, his name is John Smith. He's got a file. Blair is informing on him, and so Blair turns up dead, through some sort of violent incident. So aren't you going to make a note in